What's going on, home chefs? Today's episode we have a Chinese food takeout staple, crispy pork. This deep fried pork dish is always topped with a sweet spicy sauce. For this recipe, we're going to use a hot mustard sauce to top off the crispy pork. For this recipe, we're going to use a 1 pound piece of pork loin. If you don't have any pork loin, you can use a pound of pork chop. Try to remove as much fat as possible from the pork loin. You want to cut the pork loin into 1-inch pieces, kind of like bite sizes. We're going for a spicy, crispy pork dish. So for the seasoning, it's going to be packed with heat. To season the pork, mix together 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of Korean chili red pepper flakes or regular chili pepper flakes. Season the pork with the mix we just made and a half a teaspoon of fresh black pepper. In a large bowl, add 2 cups of flour. To the flour, add 1 tablespoon of salt, 1½ teaspoons of Korean chili pepper flakes, a half a teaspoon of Szechuan peppercorn, and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Mix well. Since we're deep frying, we're going to need a wet mixture. In a large bowl, mix together 1½ cup of buttermilk, 1 large egg white, 2 tablespoons of vodka, 1 teaspoon of dried mustard powder, and 1 teaspoon of Korean red pepper flakes. Mix well. Add 3 tablespoons of the wet mixture to the flour. Whisk to combine. We're going to use a double dredge method for this recipe. Take a few pieces of the pork, dip in a wet mixture. Make sure you let the extra liquid drip off. Now place in the flour. Make sure you coat all sides with the flour. Shake off any extra flour. Then drop back in the wet mixture. Again, shake off any extra liquid, put it back in the flour, and shake off any excess flour. Set aside. Repeat these steps for all pieces of the pork. Heat up your cooking oil in a large cast iron skillet or a large Dutch oven. The oil temperature for the pork should be 350 degrees. To reach this, heat the oil up to 360 degrees. When you add the pork, the temperature will drop. Once the oil is hot, add the pork. Try not to crowd the pan. Cover the pan with a lid and cook for 4 to 5 minutes. Once the pork is done, remove with a spider or a slotted spoon. Set on a wire rack to drain. Repeat with the other batches of pork following the same steps. While frying up the pork, you can make the sauce. In a small bowl, add a 1/4 cup of chicken stock, 2 tablespoons of hot Chinese mustard, 1 teaspoon of chili oil, 4 tablespoons of honey, 5 tablespoons of black rice vinegar, 1½ tablespoon of dark soy sauce, and 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Mix to combine. While frying up the pork, you can make the sauce. In a small bowl, add a 1/4 cup of chicken stock, 2 tablespoons of hot Chinese mustard, 1 teaspoon of chili oil, 4 tablespoons of honey, 5 tablespoons of black rice vinegar, 1½ tablespoon of dark soy sauce, and 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Mix to combine. After adding each ingredient, you should give the sauce a good mix. This will help everything be combined. Add to a small saucepan, bring to a boil, and simmer for 5 to 7 minutes. Once all the pork is done cooking, set aside in a large bowl and pour the sauce all over the pork. Make sure you cover all pieces with the sauce. You can add the pork to your favorite rice. I'm using some leftover pork fried rice, or you can just eat it straight up. Enjoy.